Ladies and gentlemen, this is absolutely fantastic news. Supreme Court ends emoluments lawsuits. So not only is President Trump going to be acquitted twice, they're not going to convict President Trump in the Senate. They're never going to convict him in a court of law because his speech is protected under the First Amendment. We still have the First and Second Amendments. So Democrats would love to just erase the First and Second Amendment. That's something that they've actually been trying to do. And he did not tell anyone, although there were tremendous missteps. He did not tell anyone, hey, go and do this. Democrats have tried to derive every single ounce of political utility and benefit from this. At the end of the day, they're not going to convict President Trump in the Senate. They're not going to even level charges at him in a court of law for what took place, the tragedy that took place several weeks back. Because that would be laughed out of court. You want to talk about the Southern District going after Trump because of Michael Cohen's testimony? Michael Cohen testified before the first impeachment. The Mueller probe concluded before the first impeachment. Guess what? The first impeachment had nothing to do with either Trump-Russia, because they fabricated everything, Michael Cohen's testimony, because he's lying through his teeth simply to reduce a prison sentence that he earned from his illegal activity. And so the first impeachment was on two subjective allegations that have nothing to do with the legal statute. They didn't impeach President Trump on a crime. So the Southern District is saying, well, we're going to go after Trump because Michael Cohen has stated all of these things, and nothing that he's ever stated has been used in a court of law. And they just want to go after Trump. That's it. It's not working. So Supreme Court ends Trump emoluments lawsuits. Notice when the Supreme Court sides with President Trump, or Trump gets legal victories, it's hush-hush, it's quiet. Washington, the Supreme Court brought an end to lawsuits over whether Donald Trump illegally profited from his presidency, saying the cases are moot now that Trump is no longer in office. They were moot before. These cases have been around for years. The Supreme Court didn't want to rule on it, or nobody ruled on it, because he wasn't profiting. If anything, he was losing money. CNN did a whole big article on how, oh my God, he needs money now. Oh my God, he's a pariah. That's what the narrative is, that he's nobody wants him. He's a pariah. When he moves to Mar-a-Lago, the neighbors don't want him. Oh my God, hit subscribe to this channel right now, because I'm going to give you an analysis and evaluation of what's going on that you're not going to get, especially from CNN and MSNBC. Hit subscribe right now. We're back on track. We're at 180,000 subs. We're back on track to go well past 200,000 subscribers. It's because of you. If you want to read my writing in The Hill, The Huffington Post, Salon, The Jerusalem Post, The Roanoke Times, The Federalist, go to hagoodman.com. You could support my voice long term. My Patreon link is there, and it's below in the pinned comment and description as well. Ladies and gentlemen, the High Court's action was the first in an expected steady stream of orders and rulings on pending lawsuits involving Trump. Now that his presidency has ended, some orders may result in dismissals of cases since Trump is no longer president. So they're trying to justify a loss for Democrats and media as, well, he's no longer president. Well, if he's no longer president, why are they impeaching him? Which, by the way, his status among Republicans has increased. 60%. This is according to a poll that NBC News and a whole bunch of other publications, Washington Post, CNN, all of them cited a poll on media and the electorate, or I think Americans and the media. What percentage of Americans trust media? 60%, almost 58% of Americans either distrust media or feel that news organizations focus on trying to push an ideological viewpoint or agenda, which is true. You have a public relations apparatus that I was talking about, And we'll get to that public relations apparatus in a second, but it's like all-encompassing. MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, CNN. There's another survey or poll or study, 92% negative media coverage. So you've had 92% negative media coverage for 4 years. Every single thing Trump did was scrutinized. His numerous paradigm-changing accomplishments, first president to step foot in North Korea, Abraham Accords, all of these things that he was able to do. We had record low unemployment for most of his tenure. They're swept under the rug. And you have only 92% negative media coverage. Then they obsessed over his tweets. There are things that he shouldn't have tweeted. That's true. But what do you expect? I can go on forever here. Some orders may result in dismissal of cases since Trump is no longer president. That's nonsense, because if indeed he committed crimes, the fact that he's no longer president would be irrelevant. He didn't commit any crimes. They still have not found a crime. You hear this nonsense, it's a criminal presidency. Name a crime. I can name you a litany of crimes with Clinton. Okay? You can't have top secret intelligence on private servers. There's the legal statutes, 18 U.S. Code 371. No, sorry. There was another statute. Well, that statute pertains to Comey and McCabe. But there's another statute in the Espionage Act, 793F. You can't have top secret intelligence. You don't even have to have intent. If you're caught with top secret intelligence on anything you own, Clinton owned those servers. Again, this is the thing. Media and Democrats live in their own world. Then when there's an outcome they don't like Trump as president, they get into this frenzy, this hysteria, and then they say, "Oh my God, look what you're doing to America," when they mean, "Oh my God, look what you're doing to us," because they're the ones whose minds have been warped and melted the past 4 years. Now, Trump, it's true, President Trump riled them up and egged them on. But anyway, in other cases, proceedings that had been delayed because Trump was in the White House could resume, and their pace even quicken. Yeah, well, the justices throughout... Okay, The High Court also lowered... The outcome leaves no appellate court opinions on the books in an area of the law that has been rarely explored in U.S. history. So the whole point, they said, well, you know what, he has so much, the Emoluments Clause, there's so many conflicts of interest. The High Court, the outcome leaves no appellate court opinion on the books in an area of the law that has been rarely explored in U.S. history. Okay, the cases involved suits filed by Maryland and District of Columbia and high-end restaurants and hotels in New York and Washington, D.C. that, quote, found themselves in the unenviable position of having to compete with businesses owned by the President of the United States. Give me a break. I mean, they were reaching. And you have, this is the thing with Democrats, and until Republicans manage to do this, and I think hopefully in 2022, Trump will have completely transformed the Republican Party into an anti-war, anti-interventionist political party. There are elements of populism within the Republican Party that resonate directly, squarely with populism on the left. The left can't admit that. So there's a direct line between Bernie Sanders and Trump. A direct line. Please quote me, because it's true. And it's a good thing. Detractors of both Trump and Bernie Sanders would say, oh my God, Now, Bernie is a tool of the Democratic Party. Trump is not. Trump is actually revamping the Republican Party to make it a better political party. A party that opposes wars. If you oppose regime change and interventions, you are not only doing something that's far more just and moral than anything on the left. Because wars, regime change affect people of all backgrounds. And nationalities, obviously. Because our foreign policy inadvertently, like President Obama in Libya, causes at times countries to become failed states. Libya was not a failed state prior to President Obama's intervention. Okay, apparently the people of the New York Times and the Washington Post and MSNBC and CNN really don't care about that. Notice they will never bring up Libya. They will bring up all of these terms and phrases and sociological theories, but they'll never bring up Libya. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe they're all hypocrites. Maybe they really don't care about what morality is about. They'll never bring up President Obama's role in turning a country into a failed state. And there are numerous articles in very prestigious public foreign affairs, foreign policy, but it's always the well-meaning intervention. Oh, President Obama has admitted it's his worst mistake. Yeah? Where's the condemnation? Where's the judgment? Where's the condemnation and judgment pertaining to what President Obama did in Libya? There is none. There's none. And it's not just that country, it's other countries and drinking Flint water saying it's safe. Are you kidding me? Anyway, the Emoluments Clause has been kicked to the curb because it was a bunch of nonsense to begin with. Supreme Court ends Trump emoluments lawsuits. That I just read. I read a Mercury News article. This is an AP article. I think it was the same AP article. So that's I basically read an Associated Press article. Here's a CNBC article. Supreme Court dismisses 2 cases challenging Trump's business conflicts. The Supreme Court on Monday dismissed 2 cases over whether former President Trump unlawfully profited from his businesses while in office. So he didn't unlawfully profit from his business. See, here's the thing. Trump was able to get them to always undermine their own arguments. So now they've been saying, oh, he needs money, he's on the ropes, and he's not that rich. Then they're saying, well, he's making a lot of money from his businesses as president. Well, how can you do that, by the way, if you have 92% negative media coverage? And, I mean, you're being investigated on a fantasy and a hoax. I would just love for CNN and MSNBC, when they talk about the past couple of months, to bring up Facebook ads or a Steele dossier. That's what Rand Paul should have brought that up. Josh Hawley should bring that up. Ted Cruz should bring that up and focus on it. See, the thing is, Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, I'm not sure. I think they kind of went along with the whole Trump-Russia nonsense. That's the thing with the Republican Party. They did themselves in by Jeff Sessions, the worst attorney general of all time, which is another reason you should never listen to message boards, Q nonsense. I told you that it was a message board that was there to harm and hurt President Trump's political movement. I said that it was the most absurd, dangerous, nonsensical, irrational hoax. It's a message board. Oh, but it was right here, it was right there. No, it wasn't. And number one, it's a message board. The other person on the other side of the message board on his computer, deceiving and trying to manipulate people, might be reading the same news stories you are, or the same YouTube channels you are, or whatever, completely fabricating something and maybe getting something right. So, you can watch my debate with Jordan Sather. I exposed it for what it is 2 years ago. I told you, don't listen to that nonsense. I told you, delete your Twitter account. You should do that. I have an impersonator on Twitter. I am not on Twitter, but Amazon knows who this person is because this person was committing crimes, illegally sharing my books. Doesn't matter. Impersonating somebody is a crime, but that's what happens on Twitter. That's one of the reasons that Twitter is a horrendous platform. Ladies and gentlemen, there are things that, like, the future is bright. President Trump met with McCarthy today to talk about 2022. He will be very actively involved in reshaping the Republican Party from here on out. Democrats are not going to be able to cope politically with a unified Republican Party. President Trump needs to correct missteps. Like, from here on out, he has to be more diplomatic, in my humble view. He should never have insulted LeBron James or NFL athletes. These are things that he shouldn't have done. From here on out, he has to be diplomatic and pick and choose times when he has that sledgehammer bulldozer approach, where it's just, oh my God, what did he say? He has to pick and choose those times, okay? President Trump had a greater appeal this election than even he did in 2016. He had a greater percentage of non-white voters than any Republican in 60 years, according to Newsweek. And if the rebuttal is, oh, well, that's not true, Bush had a great, it's like, well, Bush in 2004 got virtually unanimous, virtually, like, the media coverage was only positive, almost only, like, primarily positive for Bush, despite everything going on because of what took place in the beginning of his presidency. So media was not going to really disparage Bush. But according to Newsweek, he had the greatest percentage of non-white voters. This is huge and enormous. Every failed tactic from the Democratic Party did not work. They yelled racism for 4 years. It didn't work. He got a greater percentage of non-white voters than he did in 2016. It didn't work. Democrats are, if you have an actual unified Republican Party, where you don't have and Mitch McConnell will actually go with wherever the political winds take him. So if you have a House and a Senate that's far more devoted to defending President Trump or defending the interests of supporters of President Trump or redefining what, Democrats have tried to erase 74 million Americans from history. 74 million people voted for President Trump. 74 million people. I know people who think that, I'm the only person who supported Trump. Friends who, have, turned on me because, oh my God, I wanted to end regime changes. Again, these people are, completely nuts. Why would a friend put politics above friendship or a family member? Because that's their religion. So you have people who are atheists or whatever. I can't be your friend anymore. You voted for Trump. It's like, what? I voted for Trump for good reasons. I wanted peace in the Middle East and peace between North and South Korea. His foreign policy was fantastic compared to President Obama's foreign policy that destroyed countries. So then it doesn't even register. And then you get to know the real character of people. Okay, 74 million Americans voted for President Trump. If he was a criminal, where's the crime? If he was not only did President Trump get a greater percentage of non-white voters, so all of that, the scheme and the strategy and the ploys and the stunts from Democrats and the constant accusations, that didn't work. So, and they don't have Medicare for all, Green New Deal legislation, all of his executive orders, Biden, the left doesn't really care about, the far left, which is what's going to tank the Democrats eventually. That's their biggest obstacle. It's not Trump or Republicans. But anyway, so you have a Republican Party that actually stands for something and not, we're going to investigate our own president in Russia. That was a tinfoil hat hoax with no direct evidence. Nobody called media on that. Nobody calls these journalists who are on their moral pedestal pertaining to a whole bunch of things on the fact that they obsessed over Trump-Russia for 2 years without any direct evidence at all. And they just investigated based on suspicion. Josh Hawley, Ted Cruz, Ron Johnson, Rand Paul, President Trump should have focused on investigations. Again, you didn't have the Republican Party to push for that. When you have Republicans pushing for investigations of Democrats, serious, real investigations of Democrats, and you have Republicans maybe elevating conservative media, there's so many different things. Then you'll have the FBI moving more towards the GOP. Then what do you have, Democrats? Then you'll have intelligence operatives moving more towards the GOP. Then you won't have, if Democrats don't have a virtual monopoly on political discourse and a weak and petrified Republican Party, they're done. They're done. Because, already Trump, like I said, has been able to accomplish pretty amazing things with 92% negative media coverage being investigated by his own political party. What if those things didn't happen? And now you have the Emoluments clause kicked to the curb. So Democrats have nothing but this outrage. Once people say, we don't care anymore about your outrage. We don't care anymore. then what happens? Then you know what's going to... We can go on forever. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe. I'll be back numerous times.